Filmmakers, where we take you behind the lens to show you what really happens on the other side of the camera. We have a special guest today for our first show. She is a pioneer in the field of cinematography. She's a founder of Women in Film and currently is the president of Columbia College and a working cinematographer. Brianne Murphy, ASC. Thank you for coming, Brianne.
Thank you, Carol.
Now, since you were the first woman to become a member of the Cinematographers Union, the all-mans union, we wanted to get into that today, and you were the first woman to be invited to join the prestigious American Society of Cinematographers. That was quite a feat, I'm sure. That was beautiful. And but her credentials are incredible. Now, Brianne has won awards from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. You've won an Emmy. Congratulations. A Crystal Award, the Lucy Award, and you are a member of the Directors Guild.
Right.
That's quite an achievement, one lifetime, Brianne. Now, and today, so what we're going to cover today is some of Brianne's life and some of the people that she's worked with and things. And then we have Bill Gerhardt, who has brought us the Steadicam. So we're going to learn what this is and how it works. And Bill's assistant is with us, Greg McNeil. We're going to find out. This was used in a lot of movies and what it is and how it works. So Brianne, start and tell us, how did you break into the all-men's union? Because it was the Cameramen's Union, father to son, for years.
Oh yes, it was, for a long time you couldn't work in the business unless you were somebody's son.
Right.
And I soon realized I could never do that. So I worked for some time shooting low-budget horror pictures, which are fabulous to work on.
Is that good training?
Yes, it was wonderful because when you're working on monster pictures and science fiction pictures, there's really no one to say that's not how it looks because they've never been there.
That's right, so you can be very creative.
Yeah, you can be as creative as you want, and if you say that's how it looks, then that's how it looks.
Well, in your issue, the June issue of Fangoria is a featured article on you, right?
Yes, you saw that. Yes, that unveils my shady past.
But you must have had a lot of fun working on those.
I had a wonderful time. The key thing I learned from it is the importance of working with others, sharing what you know, not only technically, but who you know, and the rumors of what's coming up next and that sort of thing, which is very important for the new filmmaker. When you hit this town or any other town planning to make movies, you've got to know what's going on. You've got to be out there every day. And
to stay current, that is a hard thing to do.
To stay current, yeah. The word now is networking.
Yes.
Which is as good a word as any, but it's really, if you can manage to get together with your buddies every day, after work or while you're looking for work or whenever, and share information with them. Because each little show that you're on, you're going to meet 10 people that will send you off in other directions, and pretty soon the web is out there.
Because every time you do a show, those people go to different shows, so you're constantly creating new friends in the industry, right?
Exactly. And if you're lucky, you keep them forever.
That must be fun.
Yes, it is. It really is. And you think when I still haven't answered your question, but you think when you're starting out that you'll never forget on what show you met somebody, because everything is so big when it happens, and it still is. But I must admit that now I run across somebody and think, well, what show was that he was on?
You know the face, you know the name.
Yes, and you know that you've worked together. And at first it doesn't seem like a small town. But after a while, you realize that it is.
But networking is the key, isn't it? Because when you meet people that I met 20 years ago in the industry, they're still here. We're all here for the long term, aren't we?
Those that are going to make it are going to be around. Some are, when you're starting off, some are going to just fall off the edges. But you can pretty well tell who's got the staying power. And that's really what it takes. And a good sense of humor.
Right.
But you asked about the union, and I'm not really dodging it. But back then, you had to qualify to be in the union. You had to have a certain number of days with a producer who was signed with the union, And of course, that producer couldn't hire you unless you were in the union. It was a regular catch-22. But if you hang in there long enough, you can make it a catch-23 and you're okay. Well, I qualified for the union several times. Went to see the business agent, who said to me, quite frankly, he said, "Murphy, my wife don't drive a car, you ain't gonna operate a camera." Really? He was from New York, and I don't know how good my accent is, but
So
then he added, "You'll get in this union over my dead body."
So that was it. There was no hope.
Until he died.
Right.
And he died. And I think it was the day of his funeral. I went to the union and met the new business agent, who pulled out a file about this thick and said, "Yeah, we know about you." He said, "But if you join the union, how do you expect you'll ever get work? Who's going to hire you?" And I thought, whoops, I don't know any union producers. Who's going to hire me? But I thought, if I'm going to get into some quality stuff, I'd better do this. Get away from the monsters. Not away from them, but just, separation. And as luck would have it, I got a call shortly afterwards.
To go to work for someone?
To go to work. Oh, yeah.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
Who called?
Well, it's, there's always good news and bad news. NBC was making a documentary about breast cancer. Yes. And I'm sorry for the people who had the breast cancer, but I'm happy because they needed a woman to shoot it.
Because the women wanted a woman, I bet, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't expose themselves, so to speak, without a woman to shoot it. So NBC called the union and said, "We don't suppose you have a woman cameraman,
right.
do you?" And they said, "Well, of course we do." And they sent me out.
Wonderful.
And again, it's getting out there. Shooting news was the greatest. I stayed with NBC for a couple of years.
And that was good for your career?
It's wonderful because you're out there every day you shoot, every night you see your dailies. You're not only shooting, but you're editing, you're thinking on your feet, you're directing to a certain
And to
extent.
see what you shot that fast gives you an idea of, well, was I at the right exposure or not, right?
Yes, and you think about what you could do better, and you can't wait till the next shootout so that you can plan it that way again.
So you can improve.
Yeah, you constantly are doing something. I'd carry around some miniature lights, and there's a lot of schlepping to shooting news, but it's also very, very rewarding.
Mm-hmm. And it's fast and quick.
It's fast.
That sounds great. Well,
Yeah.
now, Bill, we want to know about this camera that you've brought with you. Tell us about it. What is it?
This is the Steadicam, and actually, I don't know if everyone's familiar, but the Steadicam is not a camera itself. It's a device that floats the camera and isolates it from any motion and movement, so that we can control exactly the type of shot we want and make it be really smooth. And the camera.
So there is a camera there.
Right, there's a camera on top of the Steadicam. This is the camera part, and
Uh-huh.
then from here all the way down is the Steadicam.
So that's what keeps it steady. So
Right.
tell us some of the shows, the movies that this type of equipment has been used in.
Right. Just about every single show, every single movie, the major features now have some type of Steadicam work in them. But this exact camera itself was Garrett Brown's camera, and he invented the Steadicam. And the first movie he shot was Bound for Glory, and then right after that he did The Shining. The shots running through the gardens, the big maze,
Right, in The Shining.
chasing little Danny.
Yeah.
And then he went on to do probably the first really famous shot would be the Rocky running up the stairs.
We all know that
right.
shot.
He
With
did that.
Stallone running up, and it was very smooth. You felt like you were running with him, but you
Right.
weren't bouncing.
Right.
And that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you take your mic off and put this thing on so we can all see what it's really like.
Okay.
Now, what is this? You say it's 60 pounds, is Brianne? How heavy is this thing?
Well, I always measure things by, is it lighter than a kid or heavier than a kid? And Bill says just about the same as a kid. I hope he knows he's about to have one.
This camera is an MOS camera. It's very lightweight.
What does MOS mean now?
Mit out sound, which means it's noisy. It sounds like a sewing machine.
Uh-huh.
Sounds like.
Wow.
So the only time you could shoot sync sound is if your scene takes place in a sewing machine factory. The sync cameras, the Steadicam with the sync cameras on top can get like 80 pounds or so.
Wow, and you would be pretty thin to wear that thing, don't you?
Well, there's all kinds of people.
Wow.
Most guys are much bigger,
Really?
much bigger.
And you can get into it. And that's the harness. That's
Right.
Okay.
This is the vest that allows me to attach this arm, and the arm technically is just like an arm to do all the lifting for you. It's called an isoelastic kinetic something or another arm. I never could.
And is this equipment compliments of Columbia College?
No, I wish it were.
Oh, this is
No,
this
Bill.
is yours?
This is
Yeah.
Bill's own.
So you
equipment.
own your own equipment, and then you hired yourself out as a cameraman with the Steadicam.
Right. Almost all of the Steadicam operators own their own equipment.
And so you get paid for the day for you and your equipment.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So in the shots you do, can't have any sound, so you can't have anybody talking.
Oh no,
or
just
dialogue?
with this particular camera,
Ah.
which probably gets used 30% of the time. The rest of the time, the production will have their own camera
Oh, I
and
see.
whatever they're renting for their movie, and then I'll just use that.
Oh, I see.
As an example, the audience has probably all seen ER. It has
Yes.
the cameras moving throughout the hospital.
Right.
That's all Steadicam work.
So that's what we're seeing when we look at the.
Right.
Oh, we'll know next
Guy
time we
B
see
is
that.
the operator on here. He's really good. He's one of the best in the business.
Guy.
Guy B is his name. He's incredible. So,
Okay. So now you're going to put the camera on.
Yeah, I'll show you how it works.
Fascinating. Okay.
Okay.
Wow. Isn't
Now,
that incredible? You're all hooked
This
in.
arm
Yes.
does all the work for me.
Okay.
So I can literally let go and the camera.
Oh my gosh.
I
So it's
walk-
you're balancing the whole thing.
Right. And
And you have
my torso,
uh-huh.
if I just lean one way or the other, I can control where I want it to go.
Wow.
Oops.
And you can see everything right there.
Right. I don't know if you can get that on camera or not, but this screen allows me to see what I'm doing, and it has what they call an artificial horizon on it, which is straight out of a
Airplane.
747.
It's
right.
just like an airplane.
And it keeps me level with the ground, so wherever I go, I can keep it perfectly level.
And what is Greg doing for you?
Greg
Greg
McNeil is a Steadicam assistant, and without a Steadicam assistant, the shot is completely hopeless. He pulls the focus, and it's not in conventional filmmaking. If this was a static shot and it was on a tripod, on some sticks, they would get a measure tape,
Yes,
And-
I've seen
right.
them do that. Right.
and then they just set it on the lens, and that's the way the shot is.
right.
What Greg has to do is get the tape, do a measurement, have a mark, and then if I'm going to come over here, around over to here,
Uh-huh.
he gets a new measurement, and we have a mark. And so when the shot comes, he uses this remote controller, which he has the calibration for the lens, and if you can see, when it gets rotated, it moves the lens. And so
Incredible.
he,
So he's pulling the focus at a
Right.
distance. And what is this thing with the big antenna?
Oh, this
Oh.
is a transmitter,
Uh-huh.
and if I shoot you, you can see on the transmitter, this is for the director or the director of photography to be able to see the shot. Actually, both of them will be looking at it. And so,
That's the way they
If we
see
go-
what you're getting.
right, if we go running through a hall or something, they can't be in the room. They'll be in the next room, and they'll watch the shot live as we shoot it.
That's their transmitter, so they can see everything you're getting.
Right, and then also, if you get into an odd situation where there's a lot of equipment and lights and walls, and it's not a good signal, down here is an onboard 8mm VCR. And so this records all of my moves. And so sometimes if the transmitter doesn't work, I go ahead and do it, and they say, how was I? I say it's pretty good. Maybe there was a part where it's questionable. Well, let's watch it on playback. so I can just rewind it and play it back.
So you have an immediate 8mm to sit down and watch.
Right,
And
because we can't, because the film.
You're shooting film that has to be developed and won't be
Correct.
seen until it's back from the lab.
Mm-hmm.
So that is wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is this called a video assist? What is that?
Which part?
The Sony 8mm attachment.
No, the video assist is this thing right here. This is called a video tap or a video assist.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, if it wasn't here, the eyepiece would be here, where the operator looks through and sees what they're shooting. Well, it wouldn't make sense for me to be walking around trying to look through the camera.
Right.
So to get it away from me, I have the eye tap, and it's just like an electronic eye, and it sees for me. And so then the screen
So
shows
that
what
is
the
your
camera's seeing.
eyepiece. This is really
Right,
what you're
and
watching?
so I just go all around, and I can go anywhere I want, and
you're watching
I
it.
can be watching when I'm at any time.
It's fabulous because I can see the picture and there is no movement. You're moving all over the place and the picture is
Right.
very still.
And then there's a couple different ways to shoot. One would be head on, and it's pretty conventional. People are coming at me to back up,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes if you get into a maze situation, it's not handy to be backing up. So then you flip around and shoot behind you and just look down at the screen.
Oh my gosh.
And you can
And you're
kinda-
shooting behind you all this time.
right, you can kind of see. Or sometimes it's always best to be able to go smooth backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that for most of the shot, but you can go around into the other position.
That's
Keep
incredible. Well, Brianne, before they would have to lay dolly track and dolly the camera down a hall and get everybody on, and it took
Yeah.
a lot of time to set the shot up.
This
right?
saves a lot of time. The whole key is you need a good operator, or it just doesn't work, because the horizon will be going like this, or so many things can go wrong if you don't have a good operator. But with a good operator, it's very, very efficient.
Mm-hmm. And it must be cheaper too for the production, for
When
everybody
these
involved.
first came into being in the late 70s, a lot of the old-time operators kept saying, well, I could do that with a track. I could do that on a dolly. True, a lot of those shots you could do on a track. Number one, it's going to take longer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very difficult to convince the operator that was a different operator than the Steadicam operator that you could do it this way. But then there were other shots where you couldn't do the shot otherwise. There was one shot on Little House on the Prairie
Yes.
when the house was on fire.
Now, Brianne
And-
worked on a lot of the House on the Prairie
Yes.
shows, yes.
Yeah, I worked with Michael Landon for 8 years. In this shot, the house was on fire, and Victor French, who was the sidekick of Charles Ingalls, had to go into a burning house. Please. He had to go into a burning house and rescue a child.
Uh-huh.
Well, you couldn't possibly lay dolly tracks and have an operator sitting on a dolly and an assistant pulling focus and come out through a burning house. Now, obviously, the special effects men were controlling the fire.
With no respect
you
for the
couldn't
cameraman,
go from
probably.
a child's bedroom down a hallway and go this way, a false move, come back this way, and out with fire spurting all over, and all those people on the camera. And we did it with a Steadicam, and it was wonderful. Flames right up in front of the lens.
Wow.
And it was great.
And it was probably one of the first times it was used, wasn't it? Back then?
It was back then, yeah.
Mhm.
In
And
that
who's-
case, we had an operator called Michael Menardis, who was fabulous with a Steadicam.
How did you learn how to use the Steadicam?
Well, the way I learned it was I went to a workshop, and they have a week-long course. They have them out here in Malibu. I went to the one in Philadelphia, and basically you go to the workshop and some of the top instructors in the world show up, and they tell you about the Steadicam, how it works, what its practical uses are, and basically it just amazes you. And then you get to wear it, and find out that you'll never be able to be a Steadicam operator and that you stink. And it's
Have you paid your
impossible
money
to
by
operate. Yeah, unfortunately, you got to pay up front.
So now you're
No.
determined to learn it, aren't you?
Yeah, you get to wear it just a few times, and at the end of the week, right when you start to think, hey, wait a minute, maybe this, I think I understand that if I do this, this will happen. Then that's when the class is over, and
you just
you
whet
have to
your
go
appetite.
back to another workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, the interesting thing is, what I want to know, do you take that whole thing apart, all those little pieces, can you take it all apart and put it back together?
Yeah.
How many pieces does it have?
Okay. Well, the camera itself is completely separate, but then underneath here is the follow focus system, a receiver and an amplifier. The receiver picks up Greg's signal that he sends, which I think I have it off. And then that goes to the amplifier. The amplifier sends a signal over to the motor, which you have to figure out a way to mount the motor to the lens, and then that turns the lens. And then also, if we have to do an iris pull, going from outside to inside or vice versa, there'd be another motor on here, and he would use the other handle to move another motor.
And an iris pull is to stop the lens down or open
Right.
it up, you mean?
And then the transmitter is its own separate part to send the signal. And then the onboard recorder is its own separate part. And then the arm, the vest, and then you have what they call the sled, which is what this...
Sled?
The sled is the main part that you're seeing. And then this is what they call the gimbal, and that's the part that lets it just...
Move around.
Right.
Is this the future of filmmaking, do you think?
Not entirely. It's another tool, an excellent tool, when in the right hands. But it's not the future. It's not. Everything won't be handheld, or a step better than handheld. But it's a very useful tool. It's like the zoom lens. It was wonderful when it first came in, and they had a tendency to overuse it. Whoever they are.
Right.
And then we got more conservative in its use and more artistic in its use.
Right, and I'm sure that's where this will go, is into more artistic uses with this camera. It's a great rig. Thank you for showing it to us. But now, Brianne, tell us, what was it like to work with Michael Landon? Was he a good director? Or?
He was probably the best director that I ever worked with or ever watched work. He was underrated because, in spite of all the publicity that he got and the fact that everybody knows who he was, he never publicized himself. He was a writer, producer, actor, director.
What a talent!
In all of his shows.
So did he write the scripts, or did he just rewrite them?
No, he usually wrote all of them.
That's incredible.
And then he starred in them, directed them, and produced them. And it was wonderful to watch him work, because he would go to a script between shots. Of course, he'd written the screenplay, so he knew what he was doing, but he'd sit there and he'd kind of close his eyes, and you knew that he was seeing the scene in his head. And when he did this, we stopped fooling around on the set, and all of us kept pretty quiet. And this didn't take him a long time. He didn't belabor it or act like a Buddhist or anything. He just said, okay, we'll put the camera over here. And the scenes were brilliant. And
So
you could
he
never
envisioned the whole thing. He set.
You knew that he was envisioning it. And I learned a lot from him, because I do the same thing now when I'm directing.
And you, are you looking forward to directing? I mean,
Yes,
moving
I am.
from cinematography?
I've done some directing. I've got 3 small features behind me.
What
and-
fun! Did you
and-
like that?
Oh, yeah. I
Well,
love
did
it.
you love telling the director of photography what to do now? You're on the other side? Is that fun?
That's fun if you have someone who responds the way you want them to. On the last picture that I did, a feature called To Die to Sleep, I did both jobs.
Oh, you did?
Yes. And
Is that, I mean, with the union, was this a non-union show?
yes.
And you can do that then?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that was interesting. You know, I'd say, we'll put the camera here, and then I'd say, No, we won't put the camera. Yes, you will. I'm the director. You'll put the camera there. And the camera went there.
Yes.
And at least we shared the same vision,
Oh, that is
the
great.
cameraman and I.
Well, now, you said you were working on Portia's Law?
Yes. Harry
That's something
Flynn
new?
is the writer, producer of Portia's Law. It's a story about a woman attorney. And it's whodunit. It's an adventure, love story, mystery.
That
And
was
it's
fun.
great fun. And we're looking forward to doing it soon.
So you'll be directing that?
I'll be directing that.
And you will have a director of cinematography on?
Yes, Don Bernkrant, who is another,
Oh, what fun.
yeah, I think you know him. He's another ASC cinematographer.
Yes.
He's agreed to put up with me, so.
Oh, wow. That set will be full of good stories and
And I'll have a good Steadicam operator.
fun
and,
times, yes. Oh, that'll be fun. You all work together then, right?
Yes.
So tell us what else is going on at the school. Tell us what's happening over there.
Well, I've been at the school for a year. This is Columbia College Hollywood, which is a 4-year accredited college and where you can get a Bachelor of Arts, or you can just come and take professional courses if you like. The beautiful thing about being there is that every day I'm fascinated by the talent of the young people who come there.
Isn't that wonderful to watch young talent coming up? I think that's the
It
greatest
really
treat.
is, and then to know that I might be able to do a little something to help them.
Yes.
And then knowing the people that I know, it's nice to get them involved in the business,
And started in the industry, right?
which can be so hard.
Yes, it is. All right, and that's one of the things we want to talk about in some of the shows. And but your advice is that if you can, get into news early in cinematography because you can learn a lot from it. Well, we've got to close now, but I want to thank you very much, Brianne. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And Bill, thank you very much for all the demonstration.
Thank you
and
for having me.
good luck on your next features. And thank you very much, Greg, for showing us how the assistant works over there. And we want to say that if you have any ideas for shows or information you'd like to learn in the future about what goes on behind the lens, then call the number at the end of the show and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much for joining us, and look for us about the same time next week. Bye for now.